Welcome back to Low Stress Math with Mrs. Bono. We are in book 3. Wow, did that go fast? And we are going to be starting chapter 5, statistics. So here's what we're going to be doing in chapter 5. We're going to learn about scatter plots. We're going to make our own scatter plots. We're going to talk about a trend line and a line of best fit, but don't worry, it's not hard. And then we are going to create and interpret linear models. Basically word problems. It's okay, we've got it. So let's take a look at lesson 1. Now, this is going to be a lot of me reading to you, but grab a highlighter so you can highlight the important parts. All right, so what are statistics? Well, it's the collection, description, analysis, interpretation, and presentation of numerical data. I'm going to highlight analysis because that's what we're going to really be doing, looking at and analyzing the data that we've been given. Do you know any statistics? Have you ever learned any statistics for any reason at all? I know a couple of people are thinking right now, well, I know some basketball statistics. They're always throwing statistics out during a basketball game. You know, what's the free throw percentage of a player? What's the number of 3-point shots? What's the number of 2-point shots? How many of them did they get? And how many assists? All those numbers are very important for that game. Same for baseball. Baseball, how many hits? How many outs? How many strikes? All these things are important statistics, but those are just games. When are statistics important to you, yourself? Well, gentlemen, I hate to tell you this, but statistically, teenage boys are more likely to get into car accidents and get speeding tickets than teenage girls, which means they're going to get higher insurance. Right out of the gate, you will pay more for insurance than girls. Doesn't seem fair, but statistically, it's been proven. So, let's talk about a statistic that's good for you when it comes to getting car insurance. Keep your grades in high school in 85-90 territory, and that's going to lower the cost of your insurance because statistically, there is a correlation, an association between good grades and good drivers. So if you have good grades, you're probably going to be a good driver. So that will lower your insurance as well. Take note of these things now and prepare yourself for high school. Do well and you will be rewarded monetarily in the case of car insurance. So we're going to talk about scatter plots. A scatter plot is a type of graph that uses points to show the values for two different variables. Usually each point represents one person. So if you're talking about, say, comparing ice cream sales to temperature, each sale is a person buying ice cream. So as the temperature goes up, each person is going to buy more ice cream. It sounds silly, but it's true. Scatter plots can show relationships, associations. Now let's talk about this word association. I like the word correlation better, but it basically is going to mean the same thing. I'm probably spelling this wrong because I spell everything wrong. But correlation and association are basically the same thing. Data, a collection of information gathered by observation, which looking at it, questioning, talking to people, or measurement. I'm not thrilled with questioning because the way you ask a question, oh my goodness, I can't even talk today. The way you ask a question will sometimes change the way a person answers it. So you have to be a little careful with that particular method, but try to make things as unbiased as possible. Don't put your own spin onto a question. Let people interpret it themselves before they answer it. But my favorite is measurement, because if you're literally measuring something, you're not going to have as much change or, bad data. We'll talk about good and bad data later too. So correlation shows the relationship and strength between the data. So let's talk about the correlation here. This graph shows a positive association. I did spell correlation wrong. I'm looking at it now. There should be 2 R's. Sorry. Me, I'm all being everywhere right now, right? There should be 2 R's in correlation. And an E. Oh, dear goodness me. That should be an E. Correlation. We'll get it there, Bono, eventually. So, this is a positive association. As the number of whatevers and the number of thingamabobs increases. If it looks like it's going up, that is a positive correlation. Now this graph, this is showing a negative correlation. It's going down. And look at this hot mess over here. There's no correlation between these numbers. I don't know what the numbers are, but there is no association. Let's look at the next one. Here are some things you also might see on a scatter plot. An outlier. An outlier, that's this little guy over here, is an extreme data point that's set apart from the rest of the points. So see, all these points are together in a positive correlation, and then this little guy is out here on his own. All right. And then there's a cluster. And this is a cluster, a bunch of numbers that are all together. Very often, I will put your grades as points, believe it or not, on a chart. And I'm usually comparing your grade to how long you studied. I'll actually reverse that, how long you studied to your grades. Not study, but your notebook. If you have a high notebook grade, you are generally going to have a high test grade. That's just how it is. You take good notes, you get good grades. Now this is yours. Stop the video, you heard me, and answer these questions. Determine the type of association each scatter plot has, then look to see if there's an outlier, then circle it. Stop the video and do that for these 6 problems. I'll wait for you. Did you stop the video? I hope you did. I hope you answered the questions on your own, because they're not particularly difficult, and I think you can do this. For this first one, it's going up. There is a positive association or a positive correlation. For this one, look at this. Those numbers are all over the place. There's a hot mess going on there. There is no association. And look at this one. You can see it's going down. Oh, and it has an outlier. There's my outlier. Remember, it said to circle my outlier. Now this is a negative correlation. You see it's going down. And look, it even has a little cluster. Let's highlight the cluster. We'll highlight clusters and we'll circle outliers. Look at this one. Going up. It's going up. That's a positive association or correlation. Look, it has a little cluster up at the top. That's what your grades look like. Yeah, if you have a good notebook, you get good grades. Most people have good notebooks. Most people are getting pretty good grades in this class. Guys, you're doing your jobs. It's coming out well. Now let's look at this one. Oh, it's all over the place again. That's no association. And this one, definitely a negative association. And here's an outlier. And I'm looking back at my work. Did you guys see it? Did you pick it up? I made a mistake. I didn't circle my outlier on the first one. Oh well. I made a boo-boo. Let's read example 2. The scatter plot shows the number of hours that students study for a test and their scores on the test. Well, here's the hours of studying, and here are the scores. Study 2 hours, get around 70, 75-ish. Study for 10 hours, look at you, are up here at 95. Look at this. Nobody got 100 on this test. Not a good test. I don't like it. All right. So the scatter plot shows the number of hours that a student studied for a test and their scores on the test. Does the scatter plot show an association between the numbers of hours studied and the test score? If so, describe these. Okay. So there is definitely a positive association. As the gr- as the number of hours studying goes up, so does the grade. Oh, I forgot a Y, sorry. Studying goes up. Not spelling well today. So does the grade. What do I want to say here? Describe the association. Study more, get higher grades. Yep, definitely. Now let's look at my English. Positive association, as the number of hours studying, so does the grade. Goes up, so need a period. Study more to get higher grades. That's a statement. There we go. Don't forget your capitals and periods there. All right, number 3. The following table and scatter plot shows the number of hours 16 students studied for a test and the number of questions they got right on a 30-question test. I don't know about you, but I'm looking at this and it's hard to read. I mean, the hours studying aren't going up. You know, they didn't put them in order, and they didn't put this in order either, so not good. But it's so much easier to look at this and see that it's sort of a very positive trend line. You know, if you don't study, you get 8, maybe 12 questions, right? But the more you study, look at this, going straight up. Somebody studied for 10 hours, they got 30 questions right. Now there's also this little guy over here. He's definitely an outlier. He got 22 questions right, and he only studied for 8 hours. Now, this guy got 22 questions right, and he only studied for 5 hours. So this guy studied a lot, and he did okay. But, you know, if he studies a lot and didn't, get the high grade, I really wouldn't want that. But what about this guy over here? He's an outlier too. He only studied for 2.5 hours, but he got 26 out of 30 right. That's pretty good. But most people, the more they studied, the higher their grade. These two guys are a little bit outliery. What's the correlation between the questions right versus the number of hours studied? The more you study, the more questions you get right. All right, I forgot my period again, there we go. So, the more you study, comma, the more questions you will get correct. All right, now, it seems like a lot of homework. It's not that bad. It's 8, 9, 10, and 11. It's not that bad. You know, those graphs take up a lot of space. The only little hint I want to talk about is this 7, 8, and 9. These are reading questions. You have to think about what's happening in the question. Think about a person, if they're driving, the number of hours they've driven and how far they've gone, the number of miles driven. Is that going to be positive or negative? If you drive a lot, do you have a lot of miles? If you don't drive very much, do you have a lot of miles? What kind of relationship is that? The number of songs downloaded on your iPod? iPhone. How about just your phone? Let's just do that right. And the amount of memory available, think about it. All right, and the number of time spent on the computer, amount of time spent on the computer, instant messaging your friends, let's just call it messaging, and the number of computers in your house. Interesting. I wonder if there's a correlation there. Okay, well, try those problems and good luck. I'll talk to you soon. And I mean all the problems, from page 8 9, 10, and 11. You've got this. Bye.